words.
I know.
Okay, Battleground ready between the teams. Let's just move off of that issue.
I was trying to say convex and concave, and it said connex and vave. All right, here, Battlefield of Eternity. Naventic is the team moving us there. Already, again, up a game in the series.
And on familiar territory, although in the past, Gale Force has also felt okay on Battlefield of Eternity.
Yeah, all of North America eventually had to accept that Battlefield of Eternity is a map and learn to be able to play on the map, prioritize it. Though Naventic was the first and definitely the most successful early on, Gale Force now is very comfortable there. It's gonna, I give a slight edge to Naventic just based off that last game, because if Gale Force doesn't make those small decisions perfectly, I think Naventic here is gonna punish.
Tassadar first pick.
If he makes it through the first ban phase, I see no reason why not to. If anything, it's got a stronger argument on BOE than it did onto the last.
Well, that would be this time from Gale Force eSports, so we'll see if they want to do the same to Naventic. There's a lot of options, again, on Battlefield of Eternity that Tassadar can enable. Gale Force banning a new Barak.
Do we see Uther? Any focus onto macro or the Genji ban here? Greymane, Vala, both could be bans for Naventic. It just comes down to what they want to prioritize in their DPS specifically. And again, because these teams are obviously drafting different, closer to MSB, but not exactly, but closer than that of, like, for instance, Freedom and Superstars. I would expect it's just a flat Uther or Genji. I just can't expect, I can't see them going elsewhere. They're taking long enough, though.
Yeah. Not showing anything. Tassadar. All right, so Team Naventic are doing what, to me, feels like a very Naventic thing to do, which is we have deemed certain heroes to be the strongest in the region, and that is what we stick with until proven otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good way to bring it up, their thought process here to the draft. Tahaka seems to be keeping himself up there on the threshold. They're going to take him along with Uther. With the Genji, I expect a Leeming 100% for Gale Force in this rotation to get a double reset. With the new Barak already gone, it just makes a lot of sense. If you don't, I would expect them to take the Greymane instead and then ban out the Leeming option.
How worried are they about a support choke right now? Doesn't seem to me like it's something that Akaface worries about too much.
I like the idea of taking the Malfurion purely only if your opponent has a good Medivh. Just removing the Dahaka Malf, I guess you wouldn't even be afraid of it. They've got the Uther already, so even then, with the Medivh, it doesn't matter. So then is it good enough for your composition specifically? I'm always a huge fan of it. I don't like accepting the support choke. There's a reason those supports are just an entire level up above, even if it doesn't complement my team.
We've seen so many teams be more than happy to have Rhaegar with Genji though too. But there's Malfurion and Li Ming.
I like it. I like a lot of what Gale Force is doing in these drafts so far. So now here for Naventic, the response, if you don't want to take the Greymane, you remove it right now. But it's a very rare to see Gale Force move into it.
Yeah, I think Gale Force will want more of a front line than that.
But is Tyrael enough? Like, is it Tyrael enough of a front line to force the ban there? Because, I mean, what do we already have a noob gun. Stitches is yet to prove itself in North America. Diablo falls next into those lists, but Tyrael is the only one that really matches up to fit the composition of Gale Force.
I want Tyrael Greymane for Naventic.
Okay. Good call. So then, what front line is, if Tyrael is in it, is Diablo enough of that ban? I mean, we're going to see a lot. If they ban a frontliner here and it's a Stitches, we see a lot of at least these two's perspective on who is that actual warrior. Not what I thought.
I didn't either.
Last game, they were willing to run a double squishy with an Illidan as that pseudo melee up into the front. Gale Force.
They were considering Greymane, but now looking at Ariel. So fear of that Ariel Uther hyper carry, probably with Vala.
If I was to ban, man, that is interesting. They're afraid of the Uther being... Uther supplies the healing for the Shielder, essentially, in the Holy Trinity. That's the replacement there, so they don't want to deal with any variation of it. I was going to say you might want to ban, like, the Vala specifically, just because Lunara's not as good without a melee to track things down. And Illidan was banned out by Naventic, but
I'm really hoping for Tyrael Greymane here. I'm telling you, B-Kid, I remember when you and I, at the end of part 2, were like, holy B-Kid. And that was when he was playing Tyrael. And not because he was Tyrael and he was an angel, but actually just all of a sudden surprised us as Tyrael. That is what, it'd be awesome.
I agree. It'd be a nice rotation, but again, we have to learn where these teams view the meta, how they view the meta, what are their strengths and weaknesses. Arthas.
All right.
And Greymane. So, the Arthas over the Tyrael. Tyrael, you technically could pick as that last pick, but it's a pretty big risk to have that little of a backline, or that little of a backline that much into the melee department. For Gale Force, though, we still have all the frontliners at minus Nubarak and Dahaka, and now I guess Arthas on top of it. But there's nothing, I don't know. Is it the Diablo, is it the Tyrael, or is it a variant? Something a little bit different.
Could be a variant.
I'm excited. I love when we get to see, like, this is a very apparent. You have to choose what you guys think is the best warrior behind a Nubarak. And now I just get to sit here, twiddle the thumbs around, wait until they lock in Stitches, Diablo, or Varian.
Or Muradin.
Or Muradin.
It's King Caffeine.
Yeah, that's a good point. Muradin to this map, I love Muradin on BOE just because of his passive, but
Muradin and Malfurion.
if it's Muradin, it doesn't show anything, though. Why do you have to do that? Why do you got to be not only right, but then you got to deny me the fun of figuring out the answer to my question? Literally, the only route you can go and not answer that question is picking the Muradin. Bob Saget.
Are you mad at me?
Yes.
Or Gale Force.
You jinxed it.
Yes, I had so much influence over their drafting.
It wasn't until I was talking about like the Malfurion, the support choke, and I was like, well, Li Ming here, right? And then I was just like, bam, I would take the support. And they instantly picked it up. We actually are drafting here.
Well, that's not true because Arthas would have been Tyrael.
That's a good point. There's the Lunara.
The hunt is on.
Give me a rundown what you're feeling here after seeing those 10 picks.
I like the double reset, as always, with Li Ming and Genji.
Yeah.
Li Ming has the poke, but Greymane Lunara has a lot, especially if we see another Nature's Culling, which that has been resurrected from a long dead past to see Nature's Culling brought back by Jason. But I also know that the members of Naventic had respect for that talent for a long time after everyone else was like, no, Splinter Spear is the new hot. So it is possible that we get that again from Team Naventic. Naventic have Dahaka, they have Greymane on this battleground. I would have liked Tyrael over Arthas, but Arthas can also just sit on the point and be really annoying to everybody. So I like that composition from Naventic.
I loved everything on the side of Gale Force up until that final 2 picks were a bit sketchy. I don't know. I feel like this game is going to be Gale Force, Gale Force, Gale Force, and, okay, Naventic. Again, just like we saw into the last one, not only because the comps, but just how Gale Force played it out. I want to be proven wrong. I would like to see Naventic have a strong early game, but the momentum swing, or if Gale Force gets the lead, just never letting go.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the Leoric from Gale Force on this battleground. So let's see how it works out for them. Gale Force eSports currently trail behind Naventic 1 game. Can they tie it up? Let's find out on Battlefield of Eternity.
It is an interesting situation, and as you see right there, a lot of it is because it puts Mike Udall onto the Illidan. Not a, or excuse me, not the Illidan, but the Leoric. That is not a hero that you look at and you go, that's Mike Udall.
Classic Mike.
Classic Mike.
Classic
on
Mike.
On his Leo. That's King Caffeine that you expect to be that guy, right? But he in fact is going back to the Muradin. We're gonna see Mike Udall showing what he's got here on the Leo.
So iDream playing Greymane, Tomster playing Lunara, and once again, Zuna is playing Dahaka. We're figuring things out.
So Zuna is the melee assassin / secondary warrior for Naventic, according to those 2 games.
Before, when he switched over to that role, he again felt like it was far easier for him to shot call from that role instead of trying to shot call from a ranged perspective. So that continues to hold, even bringing in iDream. They have so many ways that they could flex people onto roles.
It's actually kind of gross when you think about how they can manipulate it. But I appreciate consistency. Not only from it makes my life a little bit easier, but also from I mean, you saw my skepticism towards the 4 flexes in a support, and we saw how long it lasted. It just didn't. It just doesn't.
Yeah, there's I'm wanting less of 4 flex in a support and more like if things aren't working out in their current form of roles, then they can make the adjustments if it's absolutely necessary. In that case, things did not work out for Zuna.
Yeah, a bit of a
first blood.
Ambitious approach to the gank there up on top once Lunara showed. Nice counter pressure coming out from the members of Gale Force. So we see Caffeine and Fan. Somehow I feel like you're going to see a lot of these two players sitting side by side in shrubs. They love to gank like this. Caff loves to just sit around, wait for them never to expect me there, and I'm actually getting flashbacks of playing against these two right now because it's been a while since we've seen them on the same side. It's
really cool to see them on the same side. It's very strange when I see K1 Pro next to Akaface. That's what's been throwing me. Or last game there was a King Caffeine and Akaface rotation together. It was just like leading the charge together.
Yeah.
It was strange, but it's cool. I am so excited for this team. I know there's a lot of hype behind this roster swap. Here we go with the first fight. Akaface already under fire. Howling Blast. Such good synergy from B-Kid and Zuna. Looking to get a second kill. King Caffeine jumps out, throws back a Storm Bolt just to make sure he can get away. Yeah, and it's going to allow some defense here coming up for the members of Naventic. You can see they have no interest in putting out some damage onto the objective itself. They are more concerned about the Dahaka, the side soak, the macro game. They want the experience throughout the minions, not through the objective. Just now starting that, yeah, making sure that they were caught up in experience, they had a good handle of the waves before they made those rotations in. They'll throw out a little bit of damage before Akaface is back.
It's all going to be when does Zuna decide to burrow? And is it before the halftime phase? It's probably going to be. They should force the hand where it's almost an instant rotation over, otherwise it will go over towards Gale Force, just between Li Ming and Genji. Wow, he walked up and they still gave him the time of day. Now the members of Hello? Gale Force? There we go. Leoric was the one who moved down. So what they were going for there was kind of cheeky. They were like, well, Leo will come down and get the halftime, so if they commit to this, we can use Leo to stall out time and make this rotation not worth their time. The problem is that Leo took a little bit too long, and suddenly it was an actually just not worth trade on the side of Gale Force for how big of an advantage they had over that first Immortals stage. K1
Pro just about lost his life. There was a stalk in very aggressively from Zuna, but K1 Pro dodged the drag. Now the members of Naventic trying to play the catch-up game on health by absorbing a lot of those shots. iDream taken out.
Fan doing so much work. Anytime you can see him get pressure onto the back line. Oh, ho, ho! Giving the alley-oop there to K1 Pro. This is one dead B-Kid. It's just more of, can Naventic cut their losses? Do they lose anybody else? Looks like they will not.
I think that was quite enough for Naventic to be like, okay, you can have the Immortal, that's fine. We'll just deal with the aftermath. Half a level lead.
So, last game. Gale Force will back behind this. They will sit next to the Immortal. They will not risk initiating, but they will just keep somebody off on the side, and they'll hope that they can get a little bit of pressure up onto the Immortal, but they're going to play as safe as possible. They even do, yeah, Genji's now making the transition. So what I want from them is to dive this wall. They have a Genji. The minute anybody, Kaf could just dwarf toss over and go. Like, that was a nice attempt, maybe a little bit too soon, but that is now what they need to do with these style of compositions. With these offensive picks, teams need to get better about forcing around the objective itself here. Otherwise, the slow, patient strategies are always going to thrive. Genji will struggle in the North American meta if teams do not do that.
K1 Pro is hoping for some flank orbs to soften up the health bars of Naventic, so maybe Fan could feel more comfortable with the reset. The 4 almost went down. How important is it to Gale Force that they're able to get this? You can try for one more time, but B-Kid has been so good at absorbing skill shots from K1 Pro.
All right, so now Naventic has the 7th tier, but if they just all end it there, with that distance, the safety being that long on a map like Battlefield of Eternity with 7 advantage, the odds of them getting at least one pick is so huge. But Gale Force, again, They play it slow. They're going to risk Naventic with an opportunity to get a punishment back. They're on the same talent tier now. They're willing to take that fight. They knew B-Kid was in the shrub, but once they threw down the root.
Zuna, drag, cleanse, fan safe.
Everything is okay here from Naventic. They did not, again, lose as much as maybe.
It is nice, though, that Gale Force pulled Zuna up because Leoric has just been sitting in bottom. Although he did go up for a little bit, maybe hoping they could take up the fort. But for Gale Force eSports, that fort is just an eyesore that they weren't able to take it out.
They are winning the race to 10 so heavily as well. It's going to be timed around the next Immortal. Almost perfectly, really. We'll see here. The waves, once this wave is done, so this is the difference. This is actual difference in experience between the two teams right now. About half a level. The Immortal, yeah, this is going to be a huge window. Gale Force, essentially for the first halftime phase, it's on Naventic to pressure it out. And then once that stops, Gale Force wants to play slow, race 10, and then that's when they look to force their hand here.
Team Naventic might be able to force, thanks to the Nature's Culling that they picked up too. They have it in aggressive positioning so that they can do a lot here, but Gale Force eSports are fine just to race to the half point, knowing that they still have Leoric in lane. Dahaka's there too. Team Naventic still that level behind.
Yeah, but they did get lucky in the fact that Gale Force didn't try and stall. They went blow for blow onto the damage, so now Naventic should be able to try and go blow for blow as well. For the next couple of seconds until 10 is a thing. Genji should be able to get it up here up on top. Trickle down coming in. Now Naventic full defense.
Mike's there in Tomb. He has it if he wants to use it, and he will. He catches BK, but ends up on a point where he's on the stun, and a lot of members are just going to run through that hallway on their way to safety. Tomster and Zuna are separated from the rest of the team.
Juke.
Dodges the Stormbolt. Tomster with the juke stays alive.
I'm telling you, man, it's all about that leap. That thing is impossible to figure out. Nobody can hit the Lunara because she just moves so silly. No, that was a beautiful juke coming out from Naventic. And this is going to, you know, that was about best case for Naventic for how far behind they were. They're now moving up, trying to get the damage out into the trade. This Immortal is going over to GFE, but it's under 25% shielding, and that is not what I would have said this Immortal would have ended at if you asked me before it spawned. So that is a huge shout out to how Naventic played those last couple of minutes.
The random spawn of being able to get to halfway and Gale Force not wanting to slow things down by defending at that, risking their positioning potentially, has helped out Naventic a lot. Naventic were able to get 10 just in the nick of time, especially thanks to having Dahaka 2 not losing any picks. It's not the snowball that it definitely could have been on this battleground.
So there's another Immortal.
Leaping Strike. So Strike 2.
Nice stun, interrupting the drag. Another fort. That's about, you know, as much as you would have expected, whether or not Gale Force were going to get aggressive or not, but I just want to note the positioning of Gale Force the entire time that Immortal is moving forward. Again, not a single right click onto the fort. They are only going to get as much as every objective will get without them there, it feels like. And that is going to buy just time for Naventic. The question is, does Naventic hit the breaking point and actually get the comeback?
Well, the nice thing for Gale Force is this is a 2-lane battleground. And so it's a little bit harder for Naventic to be able to find that experience comeback. And Gale Force have enough over a level that they will at least again have the advantage going into the next Immortal.
Love the flank. No burrow used. The root. There's no way out of this one. That's a dead Zuna. Uther's on his way down. He popped adaptation. The
Divine Shield just in time. Now he's there. He's going to try to go in. Tomster slowing down too. K1 Pro in shambles as he's taken out by Lunara.
And look at that. Zuna's not done. He's going to drop a burrow. The flank is there, and he finds himself in Aka face. That is another kill here. The Arthas slow is real. 3 members now are dead for Gale Force eSports. Naventic, that's the breaking point. Now do they just never let go? Just keep the pressure on to Gale Force. They aren't even ahead in experience, but that was a window where they can now manipulate Gale Force. Say, you're the one who is going to respond to me.
I loved that flank Brushstock in, but also B-Kid making a case for why they picked Arthas.
And what I loved about it is, in the last series we had today, you asked me, Dread, why do they not all into that fight to gank the Dahaka? And I was talking about how it's a buy time strategy. Perfect example of you burned too many resources just to kill the Dahaka, and all it took was one Uther and a Shrub, and you're like, that's the whole fight. It's done. We lose this 100%.
Yeah, you could see the response immediately as soon as they saw that the Divine Shield was there. They were like, this is trouble. We have to run. But Tomster was right there too with the slows from Lunara, even Leaping Strike to heavily slow down the members until Arthas could get in position with his slows, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Naventic still going to need that 13 talents here. But it is, again, one of the, probably the most appealing talent here you can fight down almost in the entire game. Other than maybe 4. Talking about taking the fight talent down. iDream just casually 1v1 to Leo up in the top lane. Go for the throat was used. Did get the proc Zuna, not going to get the Dragon. Ice Block not necessary.
Twilight Dream does catch, but it's too late for Malfurion's life fan with the Dragon Blade. Brings down Lunara, who went in for that Malfurion kill. All the members of Naventic are in a weird spot for this fight, and Gale Force eSports are capitalizing, taking down Dahaka, looking for the more resets. The stun from the... Oh, into the Entomb!
And the Entomb follow-up, my goodness. B-Kid is going to be going down. Mike Udall with the Wraith Walk follow-up here, and this is now another huge Immortal shielding going over to the members of Gale Force eSports. I just want to say shout out to Fan for single-handedly saving that team fight. His Dragon Blade slices, I think he hit 4 where he hit 3 targets. Got a lot of good resets, and most importantly, above all else, he forced Big Impact to isolate. Big Impact did what many Uthers do, especially for a guy learning a new role. He didn't intentionally die when things were 100% going down. He walked away, he isolated, and just said, well, if I can split them up, I'll keep more members alive. He needed to be like, please kill me so I can keep my members up. And again, a lot of that all started thanks to Fan's amazing play on Genji and that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, but the positioning was very nice for where that fight took place for a Dragon Blade, though, too. The fact that they were all crowded into that choke in between the bruisers and the, whatever you want to call it, that K1 Pro's hanging out on, the little loop-de-loo.
I like that. Can we go? Alternative words. I like the old, yeah, like, or, I mean, we could call it a cul-de-sac. It's not perfect. Cul-de-sac, I kind of like.
Yeah, I like that too.
What am I talking about? The European, like, roundabout. We'll call it the old roundabout there. It's not very common that shows up in NA, but, you know, roundabouts are a thing. I like it. It's got the centerpiece. You know, as usual, everybody forgets their blinkers.
The old battlefield feature. You're talking nothing.
Nice Entomb.
Entomb catches Big E, though.
And
run out.
Casually walks away.
He just walks right on out of that.
He's like, well, you can build a wall. I don't have to.
He's been running in a straight line for a full minute. Naventic get back into position, but they will lose this Immortal. K1 Pro ensures that's about halfway into its shielding.
Naventic had to all in pre-16 there. So Gilly, normally I would say this could be game. 1 to 2 picks is all it would take, and it very much could be. But again, I'm pretty confident Gale Force will not posture or even risk for those 1 to 2 picks. So this might not even be a keep.
I hope that you're wrong, especially because they have Leoric. They have Leoric, they can always sacrifice him. He can go in, he's going to have Entomb in a couple of seconds, try to Entomb over the wall and just get an easy kill from that.
We're going to find out. Shielding's still nice and strong. Dahaka hasn't gone back at all. So that body language-wise, I know that sounds weird to say, but body language-wise on the map, that is going, Naventic doesn't want this to keep. It's going down. They are giving it up. They're playing the 16. The Entomb is there. Nice Divine Shield. It's going to allow a bit of damage onto iDream. Slam out there. Stun hits onto B-Kid, but he's going to be just fine. Lunara ate a bit of damage.
Dahaka's back, but
it's all about this on the
still
court.
Very healthy Immortal is marching toward the court, and there is no 16 to be found. Naventic have to do this without 16. Root is down. Here goes Fan with his Dragon Blade. Twilight Dream went down though. Tomster gets back in time to stay alive.
Look at that damage. Now Mikey Doll falling pretty low into the backside. A lot of DPS there. They managed to do it, Gilly. Did they? They get the hold off? They did it. Whoa my gosh, those resets. And they hold 36% on the core. I hate to be that guy, Gilly, but I feel like
I was loving that tank versus tank chase. That's why I was giggling. It was so much fun. Like the Stormbolt went out. I was like, yeah, he gets away.
What are you feeling right now?
34% core.
That's what you're feeling? It's
not
just
the end of the world. Honestly, it was something that Gale Force eSports could afford because they have both of their forts still up.
Yep, you are completely correct. They are still very much winning this game currently. It again just falls under the would love to see more aggression in the proper timing windows. It just feels like it's like, now's the time. We have to fight. Let's take it, boys.
What would you have liked to see differently there?
The minute it's at the keep, you all in, get distraction, draw aggro away from your Immortal. Then when the Immortal drops, they have to move past it, so you fight only on top of it. Then, when it, about 5 to 10 seconds later, you're almost going to die. Everybody all in core. There's no way that doesn't drop to 30%. You just needed to buy a couple of seconds and get a little bit of aggro away from the Immortal, but Naventic felt very not pressured. They could get that time. Then they could move past, and not a single auto attack went onto the core from Gale Force. They all ran away. When I make it to your core and I have an Immortal, oh, baby. I'm like, oh, thanks for the free W. Because there's the very few heroes can actually stop a 5-man team onto the core if you have any assistance whatsoever.
You can see the combo of Lunara. Well, first of all, Lunara staying alive was huge. Being able to heal up. The combo of Lunara and Arthas in full effect with unfair advantage. Now even getting the bonus damage on her Noxious Blossom, choking Pollen. So once she has dished out for poison,
nice drag.
She's doing extra damage thanks to the slow of B-Kid too.
That was really good from Zuno. Force out an early cleanse out from Akaface, something they're not going to have for another 60. Double camp pressure up through bottom, forcing Zuno to back. He's going to show. When that happens, expect Gale Force to just try to force through poking onto the Immortal. There we go. We have vision on the Dahaka. So now the members move
Arthas
up.
checking to see if there's anyone who's going to flank and maybe be able to catch that way. But also not soaking any of the skill shots so you can stay healthy for the impending fight. This is it. There's 18 to 19. It's time for Naventic to fight.
It is, and it's one that they can't afford to lose. Dahaka is still shown, dritting of the camps up through bottom. The poke has done a lot of damage there, almost 9,000 onto the Immortal between the two. As you see K1 Pro dishing out more DPS. Dahaka's still back at the core.
Look at what Genji's doing.
Yeah, he's going to go and try and
Fan's
get more
gonna
pressure.
make sure that, yeah, Dahaka has to stay there.
Yeah, he's going to say, stick with me, young fellow, or I'm going to win the game. I think Genji can just end on his own. I'm going to be honest. With Dragon's Blade, he might just be able to end.
Hasn't burned it yet. Naventic have pushed back all of Gale Force eSports to their Immortal and even done a lot of damage with Nature's Culling and Greymane.
I don't know if any... Yeah, wow. The chase. They're flanking. They won it. You are not going to survive.
But
Cyber Agility 1.
Realizes this.
Is Cyber Agility 2 in about 5 seconds.
They're just getting the Immortal, though. They know that they have the halfway point. Naventic knows. They sacrificed halfway to get this kill.
But they won't have a Genji. I'm going to be honest, Gilly. I don't know if that's worth. Definitely not worth. They did it all in.
Get the Immortal.
They did it all in.
Immortal.
You 100% have to all in that if you're Gale Force eSports. Now you're risking the 4 versus 4, the delay strategy, and the 1-4 split to make sure that the Immortal goes over to Naventic.
How fast does Gale Force take this, or Naventic take this down? They have Greymane on it. Lunara moves into.
Now they're going to defend.
No fan for 30 seconds.
But oh my gosh, the stun onto Caffeine. Another stun follow up there. Dwarf toss out. Look at the slow coming out from Arthas.
Army of the Dead, yeah, they're all in on this. There goes Stormbolt, stops the drag, but only for a second. Zuna still stepping forward into a Twilight Dream.
That was a big dream and a reset from K1 Pro. All the magic missiles lining up there. They have got the damage, they've got the slows, and look at Naventic, they commit. They're going to all in here. Nature's Culling, dotting away onto the Immortal. They will get the Immortal, and I hate to say it, Gilly, but at what cost?
Dahaka is the only loss for Naventic, unless B-Kid gets caught here. K1.
He's going down.
Dismount.
The dismount's too real. Mouth alone. There's the root.
Root versus root. All right, so that is a heavily staggered death timer now for Team Naventic. who also doesn't have 20.
Naventic now just has to go split push top. Like, taking out that forward's their best call. They're worried about their core. I'm going to be honest. That's smart because nobody's shown on the side of Gale Force, but Gale Force doesn't get this for free. Arthas, okay, move out. They have to fight off core, and they have to all in. The nice dismount from Big E. Keeping the peels up. The Entomb. This is perfect. They can stop this now.
Zuna's back. Divine Shield for a few more seconds for iDream. Now he is done.
Tomster goes down. That was huge. That is one of their biggest defensive tools. K1 Pro, he moves up. The damage there from Genji. If he gets one more reset, the pressure onto Zuna.
Dream! Hammer of Justice, though, but it is not enough. Losing Lunara is worst case scenario, and iDream's going down thanks to Temporal Flux, the slow off of Disintegrate. Only big impact left to defend the core. Gale Force eSports will take this game, but that was not an easy victory.
No, it very much was not an easy victory for Gale Force eSports. Both of those games, one team fight decided, you know, who's going to be able to get the victory, but Gale Force had the lead that time, just didn't give it up. A map where typically you gain enough of a lead early on that it is difficult to come back from. This seems to be a reoccurring trend that we see from a lot of teams across the world. It's not just in North America. So this means that Naventic maps like Sky Temple, Battlefield of Eternity, avoid at all costs. The map can literally get so hard, like just the map itself, that you can't come back. There is no way. But if you take slow, any slow, patient map, I feel like Naventic still wins this games. Just because that window is so big that the Gale Force gives them. Like, if this goes at, like, Infernal Shrines, what's another, like, slow, drawn-out one? Towers of Doom. And normally you look at towers and say, well, the global, like, Gale Force is going to slay that. And now I'm going, I don't know. Like, Naventic actually has a chance as long as they can make it to later stages of the game because Gale Force doesn't punish enough.
Well, there's at least no dragon, so at least Gale Force doesn't have to worry about that one. We're going to go to a break. We're all tied up 1-1 between Naventic and Gale Force eSports. We'll see you back for Game 3 after this.
Can't use mounts in mech mode, D.Va relies on boosters